Which NFL teams are making the playoffs and who's staying home? It's Who's In, Who's Out on 97.3 ESPN FM, South Jersey's football station.
All right, this is our chance to tell you the 12 teams we think will make the NFL playoffs based on 1 week of action. It materializes every week as we get more information. We had our preseason ranks last week. Has there been any changes? We're about to find out who's in, who's out after week 1 of the NFL playoffs in the East. We'll start things off. I don't know that anybody went against the Patriots. Would I be right on that?
I would say that's an astute assessment.
I got the Jets in.
All right.
Nah, I'm just messing around.
We all went Patriots in preseason.
Yes.
All right, in the North. Has there been any changes after seeing a couple of North teams? I mean, Pittsburgh lost, the Ravens won, the Bengals hung in there, and the Browns looked laughable. So, Ryan Rothstein, any change in the North?
No, I had the Steelers before week 1. I'm sticking with them. Just to remind the listeners out there, it's not a week-to-week power ranking. It's still big picture, who we feel at the end of the day is going to win the division. Like we said at the top of the show, I'm not looking too much into week 1, game 1. I'm still a fan of the Steelers winning the AFC North. I'm going with them.
Geoff, Mosher.
I concur. And by the same measurement that Ryan is using, I keep the Cleveland Browns as the winner of the AFC North, which is what I had last week, because I do believe they are the most talented team in the division and will win.
You went Cleveland.
Yes.
And you're sticking with them.
Sticking.
I saw enough in week 1 to make a change.
Wow.
Audible. What happened to you, Mike Gill?
Going. I know where
Where's
he's going.
No week-to-week guy?
It doesn't mean that I was wrong a week ago. I'm
Just
allowed
right
to be
now.
wrong. I know it's odd, but I'm allowed to be wrong every once in a while. And I think that I had the Ravens and Steelers pretty close last week. And I think the Ravens, I like their defense. I wasn't sure about their offense. But I feel better about their offense. I get it. It's 1 week. They played the Dolphins. But I think the Steelers have more problems than we think. You know, they lost Brown. They've lost Bell.
Possible.
They're on thin ice for me.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
And that division's better than it's been in the past. I mean, Cleveland's now, you don't just get free wins against Cleveland right now.
Right.
And I think Cincinnati might be better than I gave them credit for. So I think Pittsburgh might have more problems. So I'm going Ravens to win the North.
All right.
That's one change. All right, in the South, last night I saw Houston. They lost, but I still like them. I like what they did offensively. I think they got a pretty good defense. They matched up. They went toe-to-toe with Drew Brees. They were on the road. It's a tough place to play. I still like Houston in the South.
I have Houston in the South. Nothing I saw changed that. Indianapolis did a nice job going out to L.A. and making it close. I think it was tied at one point. Then they lost, but I'm still not ready to declare Indianapolis better than Houston. Obviously, Nick Foles is out for Jacksonville. We'll see how that impacts them. And Tennessee, look, they had a huge win in Cleveland. I'm very surprised by it. I don't see them as... I need some more evidence before I start leapfrogging them over the Houston Texans.
Yeah, we've seen that performance, I feel like, before with Mariota and the Tennessee Titans. The Houston Texans last night looked really sharp. If anything, it just confirmed my pick for the Texans in that, and I think that's their division to lose.
So that was a team that lost and is still a division winner.
Mm-hmm.
In the West, the team that won and won in overtime was the Chargers. And I'm going to stick with the Chargers, even though the Chiefs look pretty darn good. The Raiders won as well, but I'm going to stick with the Chargers in the West.
I'm sticking with the Chargers as well. That's no, I'm sorry, actually. I completely misread my sheet. In the AFC West, I'm going with the Chiefs. I'm sticking with the Chiefs. They're my pick to win the division. I just think they have too much firepower, and when it's all said and done, they're going to win that division by a couple games.
I also had the Chiefs last week, and I will continue to ride the Chiefs train probably until week 16.
I'm a little worried that I typically am Chiefs. Every year I've been Chiefs for the last couple of years that we've done who's in, who's out. And I went Chargers, but hey, they won, and I like the Chargers team.
Yeah, I mentioned 2 weeks ago that I liked the Chargers 2 weeks ago, but then the Derwin James injury being out for as long as possible, and then Melvin Gordon holdout continued. So I started to like the Chiefs as soon as they were able to bring back LaShawn McCoy and never having lost Tyreek Hill to a suspended.
The Chiefs reappear on my sheet. In fact, let's go to the wild card teams.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff, who's your wild cards?
I have the Chargers. You want both? Both wild card, Chargers and the Steelers. So obviously the Chargers won. It was a good win for them. No reason to knock them out. And the Steelers, I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt of a bad week one. And obviously this weekend will be the kind of the proving ground for them because they welcome Seattle to Heinz Field, and if they lose that game, I may have to reconsider, but right now I'm sticking with them.
Yeah, so for my 2 AFC wild cards, I have the Chargers, and then I also still sticking with the Browns, but I tell you what, I left out the Ravens. That could change quickly. The Steelers or Browns may have to get booted if the Ravens, stay on pace with what they just did.
Interesting. I actually booted the Browns Chiefs, who I kept in, and I moved the Steelers from the North champion to the wild card team. So I have the Ravens in as the North, Pittsburgh out as the North, but in as the wild card. I think Pittsburgh's better than Cleveland, so that means Cleveland's got to get bounced. I had Cleveland in the preseason as the wild card team.
Can't blame anybody for bouncing the Browns that have any kind of playoff prediction. So
let's go over to the NFC and see how much changed over there. Some interesting storylines. Let's start in the East, where everybody went Eagles last week. They won. Dallas won. Of course, Washington and the Giants lost. So anybody make a change at the top in the East?
No, I'm sticking with the Eagles. We all saw what they did in the second half there. I still think that's their division. I know Dallas looked good against a terrible Giants team. I'm not ready to move anything, though. I think the Eagles are on pace to run away with this division in the end.
Fly, Eagles, fly. I have them as my NFC East champion.
Last week, I think we all had different picks here in the North. I think, who'd you have, Ryan?
So I had the Packers.
You had the Packers, you had the Vikings, and I had the Bears. Did anybody make a change?
Not I, senor.
I'm sticking with the
question
Packers.
is for you, Michael Gill.
I stuck with the Bears. I think the Bears' defense is still good enough that they should be all right and keep them in. I wasn't overly impressed with the Green Bay offense.
No.
Scoring 10. Minnesota, they'll be able to run the ball like that all year long, and if they don't, I don't know. I think Minnesota's an interesting team. I'd like to see a little bit more from them. They beat the best opponent. Well, I guess Green Bay beat the Bears.
Depends on how Green Bay is going to be. Yeah.
Green Bay beat the Bears.
Well,
but that one's going to be interesting because that's the one where we're all a little different, I think. So I have Chicago. You have Minnesota.
I thought we were different in the NFC South as well.
Possible. I have New Orleans, and I'm not changing that after last night.
Mm-hmm.
I also have the Saints. We all saw what they did. I think they're going to run away with that division, too. When I say run away, that's a competitive division for sure, but I can't, not trust Drew Brees and Kamara and the rest of the crew, Sean Payton down in New Orleans. I have them to win it.
So I had Atlanta, and I'm going to stick with them now because I do really like them. I like their personnel.
See, now you're seeing how this game, though, works because you thought about changing them.
No, I didn't. I really didn't.
No, you did.
I did not change them. The only team I would have changed it for would have been the Saints, right? But I have the Saints as one of my wild cards.
All right.
So, and I think if the Atlanta Falcons beat the Eagles this weekend, then that would give me every reason to believe that I was right about them, especially if Minnesota wins and goes to 2-0, and you think they just had a bad season opener. So I'm sticking with the Atlanta Falcons.
All right. Go to the West, where the Rams went and won on the road. Seahawks won at home. San Francisco crossed the country and won, and we got a tie. So that division doesn't have a loss yet.
Surprising. That division, Arizona looked better, I think, than a lot of people expected. The Niners, I don't know what to make of them yet. A game against Tampa, I'm not reading into much there. I still think it's the Rams division to lose. Seattle will be competitive, but I'm sticking with the Rams to win the NFC West.
This was one of my more weird picks, I guess, not including the Rams in either my division or wild card, and they had a very impressive win. So this might be one.
Depends how much you like Carolina.
I think just to travel across the country, play a 1:00 game, and Carolina is traditionally not a doormat, so that's they beat the odds in that whole traveling across the country to play a 1:00 game on the East Coast. But I will remain with Seattle. I had the Seahawks winning the division. They did win the first game. Nice debut for DK Metcalf, by the way. So it gives Russell Wilson a nice passing option. Their defense was not as good as I thought it would be, especially at home. But they have a chance to make amends this weekend in Pittsburgh.
I got the Rams as well, and I was impressed with them going across the country and doing that. I like Carolina, although when we had Casey on yesterday, he said Carolina's defense isn't where it's been the last couple of years, but obviously the Rams scored 30 crossing the country, so I stuck with the Rams. I got the Rams last week. I got the Rams this week. Wild cards. I'm interested in this. Has anybody's wild cards changed from last week to this week? Geoff Mosher, I'll start with you.
I had the Saints and the Packers. Both were wins, and both were very impressive wins against two good teams. So I'm going to stick with the Saints and the Packers for now.
Saints, Packers in.
Not much movement for me. I had the Falcons and the Vikings. I'm sticking with both. I liked how the Vikings looked, and the Falcons, they that could change, right? Because we all know who they're playing this week, and if they get on a trend of losses here in the next week or two, they could be bumped out of my wild card. But for now, I'm keeping the Atlanta Falcons in one of those spots.
All right. I have not changed mine either, which is interesting because neither one of you have Dallas. I've got Dallas in, and I'm sticking with Seattle. They were probably the least impressive team of this group. I could probably say Minnesota has a shot to bump them out. Maybe Atlanta. We'll see how they play. I mean, obviously it materializes as the season goes on. I thought Dallas was clearly one of the more impressive teams. Seattle, not so much. But I like Seattle, so I'm going to stick with Dallas and Seattle. I didn't change that as well.
Who do you think our strangest omissions are? Like, I don't have the Rams in at all.
You guys not having Dallas is stunning to me.
Yeah. Who do you not have in that? You have the Saints.
The only team, I mean, I guess we all
Chargers?
have differences in the North. No, I have the Chargers winning the division.
Right.
I don't have
right.
the Browns in.
No, that's not stunning.
I value the NFC South, I think, a little bit more maybe than you guys do. Like the Falcons I have over the Cowboys for my wild
No,
card.
I do too because I have Atlanta. I don't have Dallas also in my
right. And
Yeah, you guys
I
both don't
might
have
wind
Dallas.
up regretting that.
Yeah, you guys both don't have Dallas. I'm the only one with Seattle,
Yep.
right?
No,
Yep.
I have Seattle winning the West. I don't have the
Oh.
Rams. Remember, I don't have
that's
the Rams.
right,
that's
right.
my glaring omission.
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Dallas
strange.
could be yours.
I
and
guess Dallas is
You have
mine.
no glaring or like, wow, you really left that team out, huh? Like,
I
What
don't
about
know,
the
do I?
AFC
The Packers?
North?
I don't have the Packers in.
But that's not even a glaring omission because
they haven't made the
they
playoffs
haven't made
in
the playoffs.
2
2
years,
2 years, yeah.
You don't have the Ravens getting in last week, but you do
But
this
he does
week.
This
now.
week I
But he
do.
kicked the
Right.
Browns out, so he really doesn't
Yeah.
have a
I
glaring
flip-flopped
omission.
the Ravens and the Ravens and Steelers in the division, and
Right.
then I had the Steelers bumping the Browns out as the wild card. So I did change my second wild card in the AFC.
Right, you booted the Browns.
Yeah. So I mean, Cleveland, as this thing kind of goes on, they're going to have to show that, like, all right, they talked a lot. Everybody was behind them. They got whipped.
Yeah. I love how he says whip.
I can't. I lose it.
Have you always said it that
Yes.
way? Oh, okay. All right. Sound like Les Bowen.
Revenge of the Nerds, man.
Yeah,
I
got
I
you.
just watched that.
Family
recently.
Guy for me. Cool whip.
And the Ravens, look, that's a team that is always in it. Whether they make the playoffs or not, they're always in it. And I thought they were impressive enough. I know, again, they beat the Dolphins. And I don't know. We talk about the Dolphins, by the way, tonight from 6 to 7. We're having a special edition of the All In podcast, which you can listen to from 6 to 7 o'clock. The spread on the Dolphins game is like historical. I mean, it's like a 19-point home
Dolphins,
underdog.
Patriots. Imagine losing by 40-some-odd points at home to the Ravens and then having to face the Patriots the next week.
It's a rough start.
What would that spread be if that was in Foxborough?
21.
It's 18
21.
now, right? It would probably be 21.
Yeah, probably 3 touchdowns.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
All right, so that's our who's in, who's out for after week number 1. There you go. So the three of us, a lot of the similars. We have a couple of changes. Did you have any changes from last week to this week?
Zilch.
Nothing. You kept everything the same.
I'm not a week-to-week guy.
And you made
I made 0 changes.
no changes at all.
No, because like I said, I'm not ready to move anything after week 1.
Well, put it this way. In the preseason, there were certain ones that I thought were very close, like Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Cleveland. I really was just kind of like, I'm going to go with Pittsburgh because they're Pittsburgh. I like Roethlisberger better than I like the other two guys, so I'll go Pittsburgh. But after seeing the teams now play for a week, I got a little bit better feeling of, all right, I think I like Baltimore's defense better than the other units that I saw. So therefore, I'll kind of, they were so close last week that I'll move Baltimore up a little
They
bit.
got another snowball this weekend too, right? Baltimore's playing another cupcake team that shouldn't get at home. I want. It's not the Jets. Who is it? I remember looking at the schedule and saying, well, I wanted to know when I thought we were going to really. Yeah, Arizona. How about that? How about playing the 2 worst teams in football back to back? One of them at home. That's really not. We're really not going to find out who the Ravens are.
They play at Kansas City in week 3.
There you go.
And then they
we'll
play
find
the
out.
Browns, and then at the Steelers.
Oh, that's great.
So they do have a couple of games coming up here.
By the second week of October, we're going to know a lot about Baltimore.
Yes, we will.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, were there any areas where you were teetering a little bit?
Yeah, Baltimore impressed me a lot. And the Steelers did not show up. And Big Ben, like we said, looks like he could play center. The Steelers could be in trouble this year, and they were my pick to win the division. So that could be changing real soon for me.
Nothing. You had no like.
No,
where you
well,
were, like,
I guess yeah. The Browns gave me pause because of the way the Ravens played.
And the Rams, you didn't have like a little bit of maybe I'm shortchanging them.
And
Dallas.
Actually, I was more. I'm impressed with how they won traveling cross country. But if you go look at the game stats, Geoff didn't have a great game. Gurley had an okay game. There was really nobody. Cooks, it was all right. I mean, like, Kupp had 50 yards. There was nobody who played so well, and I thought, man, I really discounted. Like, I don't know. They somehow had an impressive win. So, no, it didn't make me rethink